You are destroying yourself, and you call it love. You call it loyalty. You call it being a good person. But in the cold, clear light of a reality most refuse to acknowledge, it is none of those things. It is self-sabotage, meticulously wrapped in the moral blanket of duty and compassion. There is a terrifying, fundamental truth about human nature, one that the great strategic thinker of the Renaissance, Niccolò Machiavelli, understood in his Bones and wrote of over 5 centuries ago. It is a lesson modern, civilized society tries its hardest to bury under layers of platitudes and positive thinking. The lesson is this: not everyone can be saved. And more importantly, not everyone wants to be saved. There are people in this world who are not looking for a hand up. They are looking for an anchor. And if you offer them your hand in genuine help, they will not climb. They will pull. They will use your body, your spirit, your resources as a raft to keep themselves afloat, while you slowly drown in the chilling depths of their perpetual chaos. You know exactly who I am talking about. You have met them. You have bled for them. Perhaps you are bleeding for one right now. The friend who is a permanent resident of crisis. The partner who drains your soul, yet demands your patience as their birthright. The family member who takes your money, your energy, your peace, and repays you in the cold currency of resentment and expectation. You try to fix them. You try to heal them. You believe, with a faith that borders on religious fervor, that if you just love them enough, if you just sacrifice sufficiently at the altar of their need, they will finally change. They will see the light. They will become the person you know they could be. But if Machiavelli were to look at your situation with his famously unsentimental eyes, he would deliver a brutal, timeless truth. A man who tries to be good all the time is bound to come to ruin among the great number who are not good. Let that sink in. Compassion without boundaries is not a virtue. It is a profound weakness. It is a fatal flaw in your armor that predators, parasites, and the willfully lost will exploit without mercy, until you are nothing but a hollow shell, wondering where you went. What we are beginning today is not a lecture. It is a surgery, a necessary, precise operation on your conscience. We are going to cut away the rotting, infected tissue of blind kindness and misplaced loyalty. We are going to explore, in stark detail, the 6 distinct types of people you must never, under any circumstances, try to save. This is not about cultivating cruelty. This is about strategic survival. This is about preserving your finite power, your energy, and your spirit so that you can deploy them effectively for those who truly deserve it, for your own purpose, and for a future that doesn't resemble a shipwreck. If you are exhausted from being the perpetual giver, the one who sacrifices everything and receives only pain and emptiness in return, then listen closely. What follows may be among the most vital realizations of your life. A word of warning, however, once you begin to see human nature and relationships through this lens of clarity, you can never fully return to the comforting, familiar lie of ignorant benevolence. The veil will be lifted. But before we identify and dissect these 6 dangerous archetypes, you must first understand the mechanics of the trap you're in. Why do you do it? Why do you, time and again, rush into the burning building when the person inside is the one who lit the match? It is because you have been conditioned, by family, by culture, by perhaps a fragile sense of self, to believe that your worth is inextricably tied to your utility to others. You've been taught that goodness is measured in the currency of pain endured on another's behalf. You have come to believe that saying no, that establishing a boundary, is an act of betrayal, of moral failure. From a strategic standpoint, Machiavelli would view this as suicide. Not necessarily physical, but emotional, financial, and spiritual suicide. In his world of principalities and power, and in the very real world you and I navigate today, resources are finite. Energy is finite. Time is finite. Attention is finite. When you pour these precious, irreplaceable resources into a psychological black hole, you are not merely being wasteful. You are actively funding the demolition of your own future. You are investing in your own depletion. Picture a ship. Your life, your mission, your sanity is that ship. It has a limited capacity, limited supplies, a finite number of lifeboats. If, driven by a misguided sense of mercy, you bring everyone on board, the sick, the mad, the saboteurs, the ones who secretly want to see the vessel sink, the ship does not become a haven. It becomes a coffin. It sinks under the weight of dysfunction, and then everyone perishes. The innocent, the capable, and you. To save the ship, to fulfill any meaningful purpose, you must become ruthlessly discerning about who you allow on deck, and more importantly, who you allow near the helm. This requires what we might call therapeutic darkness, the mature, often painful understanding that sometimes the most loving, the most truly compassionate thing you can do for another person is to let them hit bottom. Because the bottom is the only place where comforting illusions shatter. The bottom is the only teacher forceful enough to present the ultimatum: stand up or stay down. When you perpetually save them, you are not a hero. You are a thief. You are stealing their necessary lesson. You are interrupting the immutable, natural law of cause and effect. You are preventing the very catalyst that could spur their change. So who are they? Who are the ones you must, for your own survival and their potential awakening, cut loose? The first is the most subtle and often the most dangerously contagious, the architect of chaos. This is the person perpetually followed by their own personal dark cloud. Machiavelli advised rulers to avoid association with the unlucky, not from superstition, but from sharp observation. He noted that some individuals are not mere victims of fate. They are the architects, the general contractors, of their own recurring disasters. You know this person. Every conversation is a bulletin of fresh catastrophe. They lost their job again. Their car broke down mysteriously. Their partner is toxic for the 5th time. The landlord is unfair. It is a relentless, exhausting opera of misfortune, and you are their captive audience. Initially, your heart aches. You think, what tragic luck. How does one person endure so much? And so you step in. You lend money. You make introductions. You spend hours problem solving. And for a brief period, a week, a month, there's calm. You feel the warm glow of the rescuer. But then, inevitably, the storm returns. The job you secured for them? They lost it. The boss was out to get them. The money you lent? Swallowed by a new, even more dramatic emergency. The advice you gave? They tried it, but it just didn't work. Here is the hard truth. What appears as bad luck is, in reality, a symptom. It is the external manifestation of consistent poor judgment, a lack of discipline, and a profound absence of self-awareness. The architect makes impulsive decisions, ignores glaring red flags, antagonizes allies, and is intellectually lazy. Yet, they never take true responsibility. The script is always the same. The world did this to me. If you try to save the architect of chaos, you are not importing a person into your life. You are importing a system of disorder. You invite their chaos to become your chaos. Your stable ground becomes their new construction site for disaster. Machiavelli understood that fortunes are linked. When you lash your sturdy boat to a vessel that is actively drilling holes in its own hull, physics does not care about your noble intentions. You will be pulled under. I have witnessed incredibly capable people, brilliant, kind people, lose their reputations, their life savings, and their peace of mind because they believe they could stabilize a person who is, at a deep level, addicted to instability. You cannot fix someone who is in love with the drama of their own demise. Why do they do it? Because chaos has its own rewards. It guarantees attention. It absolves them of the burdens of sustained effort and long-term responsibility. If you are always the victim, you never have to be the victor. Your role, therefore, is not to be their eternal umbrella. Your role is to step back. Let the rain fall on them. Let them get wet. Let them feel the cold. Because only that discomfort, that inescapable chill, can provide the motivation to finally seek shelter, to build their own. By constantly shielding them, you are not a savior. You are an enabler of their chronic incompetence. And eventually, their bad luck will manifest in your life as broken promises, financial loss, and emotional exhaustion. Protect your peace as if it were the last fortification of your soul. The infection of perpetual misfortune spreads through sustained contact. Your duty is to quarantine yourself from the architect of chaos. Now, if that connected with you, if you're seeing a face in your mind's eye, then you understand why this work is crucial. This channel is dedicated to delivering these unvarnished truths. If you're committed to reclaiming your power, then do this for yourself. Hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. We are just getting started, And what comes next is even more critical. Share this with one person you care about who needs to hear it. Your sharing might be the lifeline they've been waiting for. The second type is perhaps the most psychologically painful to confront, for it perverts the very concept of gratitude, the bottomless pit. This is the individual who demands your help, consumes your help, and then, in a sinister twist, comes to resent you for providing it. Machiavelli wrote extensively on the fickle, unreliable nature of gratitude in human affairs. He observed that loyalties and feelings shift swiftly when interests change. The bottomless pit suffers from a malignant, festering wound of entitlement. They do not perceive your kindness as a gift. They view it as a debt you are finally repaying, a tax you owe for your relative fortune. Observe the pattern closely, for it is a masterclass in emotional depletion. The first time you help them, the gratitude is effusive, even overwhelming. Thank you. You saved me. I don't know what I would have done without you. It feels good. The hook is set. The second time they ask, there is less hesitation, more expectation. You help again. The thanks is shorter, perhaps with less eye contact. The third time, they don't ask, they assume. And if you pause, if you dare to hesitate or have a prior commitment, their irritation surfaces. The passive-aggressive comment arrives. I guess I'll just figure it out myself. Or, I thought we were closer than that. You are now facing the bottomless pit. No amount of resources, time, or energy you pour in will ever fill the void within them. Why? Because the void is not a lack of things. It is a fundamental lack of character, a gap where self-reliance and accountability should reside. When you help someone like this, you unconsciously create a dangerous master-dependent dynamic. And here is a dark, uncomfortable truth of human nature. Dependence breeds contempt. On some level, they will grow to hate you. Your strength is a constant, silent reminder of their perceived weakness. Your generosity underscores their inability to provide for themselves. So, they will take your money, they will consume your time, and all the while, they will be secretly sharpening the knife they will one day plant in your back. Have you ever noticed, in your life, that the people you have helped the most are often the ones who speak the most bitterly about you in your absence? This is not coincidence. It is the predictable result of this toxic dynamic. This is why Machiavelli would advise that if you must help, do so in a way that is complete, decisive, and does not foster ongoing dependence. Or better yet, and this is the harder lesson, do not help at all if you detect the early rot of entitlement. How do you spot them? Test them. Say no to a small, non-critical request. Observe the reaction with detached curiosity. A healthy, well-adjusted person will respect your boundary, perhaps with slight disappointment, but with understanding. The bottomless pit will reveal themselves through anger, guilt-tripping, emotional blackmail, or a sudden, chilling coldness. They will attempt to punish you for turning off the tap. If you see this reaction, do not negotiate. Do not explain. Create distance. You cannot save someone who believes the universe owes them a living. You will pour the very essence of your life into them, and they will look up at you with dead, hungry eyes and ask, "Is that all?" Do not cast your pearls before swine. They will not appreciate their value. They will trample them into the mud, and then turn on you for not providing more. We are navigating the deep waters of human psychology here, and I know this is challenging. But this is how we build a life of strength, not just survival. If this resonates, if you're tired of being the eternal well for others, let me know in the comments. Write boundaries below. Seeing that community of understanding is powerful. And please, if you're finding value, share this video. It takes a village to wake up from the trance of self-sacrifice. Now we descend into darker, more intentional territory. The first two types drain you through incompetence or entitlement. The third type drains you through deliberate, often hidden, malice, the smiling saboteur. Machiavelli understood that invidia, is the most corrosive and destructive force in any human collective, a court, a business, a family, a circle of friends. The smiling saboteur is often the person closest to you. They are the friend who has been there since the beginning. They are the colleague who started at the same level as you. But then, you evolved. You succeeded. You improved yourself, your situation, your mindset. And they stayed the same. They cannot stand it. But they are cunning. They do not attack openly. An open enemy is straightforward. You can see their sword. The The smiling saboteur hides their dagger behind a grin, behind a mask of concern. Their mission is not to surpass you, but to subtly pull you back down. Listen carefully to their language when you share good news. You say, "I got the promotion." They say, "Wow, that's great. But aren't those hours brutal? I'd be worried about burnout. Just be careful." You say, "I met someone amazing." They say, "That's nice. Just take it slow, you know." You have a tendency to get your hopes up. "I don't want to see you hurt again." Do you hear it? The subtle poison, the feigned care. They cloak their envy in the language of protection. Their goal is to plant seeds of doubt, to lower your confidence, to make you second-guess your joy and your ambition. They want you to feel anxious about your success, so you might unconsciously sabotage it yourself and return to the familiar, mediocre level where they reside. Machiavelli warned that men are so simple and so ready to obey present necessities that a deceiver will always find those willing to be deceived. The envious person, the smiling saboteur, wants to save you from the dangers of success because your success is a living, breathing mirror reflecting their own stagnation and failure. If you, in your generous folly, try to save them by pulling them up to your level, offering opportunities, introductions, mentorship, they will often subconsciously, or sometimes consciously, sabotage the endeavor. They will create drama right before your critical meeting. They will give you catastrophically bad advice disguised as wisdom. They might accidentally leak your confidential plans to a rival. They do not want you to win, and they certainly do not want to win alongside you in a genuine way. Envy is an incurable sickness of the soul. It eats its host from the inside. The only strategic defense against the smiling saboteur is what Machiavelli implied through his advice, the law of concealment. Hide your victories. Mute your joy. Guard your plans. Do not give them the ammunition of your happiness. When you are around them, practice strategic blandness. Be uninteresting. Be struggling. Feed them the narrative of mundane difficulty they secretly crave to hear. How's business? It's a grind. Tough out there. Just keeping my head above water. Save your true celebrations, your expansive visions, for those whose eyes light up with genuine joy for you, your true allies. If you try to save the envious, if you try to cure their insecurity with your love and transparency, you are essentially embracing a suicide bomber. They will detonate the very bridge you are building for them, just for the chance to watch you fall into the ravine with them. Never reveal your next move. Never showcase your full power in their presence. Pause here for a moment. Breathe. I know the weight of this. Faces are likely flashing in your mind. Names you haven't spoken aloud in years. You feel a familiar guilt rising, and that internal voice piping up. But they need me. I'm different. I can handle it. I can change them. You must recognize that voice for what it is. That is not your conscience. That is your ego, the arrogant part of you that believes you are powerful enough to rewrite the fundamental nature of another human being. You are not a deity. You are a human with a limited emotional and psychological battery. If you continue to plug yourself into these draining machines that run on dysfunction, you will die, spiritually, mentally, and the stress will manifest physically. We have 3 more archetypes to uncover, and these next ones manipulate your deepest, most vulnerable instincts. They leave the most profound scars. Steel yourself. We are going deeper. We now arrive at the most deceptive, most manipulative creature in the dark forest of human psychology, the professional victim. This type does not confront you with a knife or with arrogance. They approach on their knees, eyes full of tears. Machiavelli, who studied power in all its forms, understood that power flows from 2 primary springs, fear and pity. The tyrant uses fear, but the weak, the strategically weak, have mastered the use of pity, of sympathy. Sympathy is a potent drug. It bypasses your logical, critical forebrain and injects directly into your emotional core. You must learn to distinguish between 2 categories. There are victims of circumstance, and then there are professional victims. A true victim desires, above all else, to escape their pain, to heal, to become strong. A professional victim has a different aim, to farm their pain. They cultivate it. They curate it. They wear their trauma and their fragility not as a wound, but as a crown, demanding that the world kneel in deference to their suffering. They weaponize their fragility. I can't possibly do that. My anxiety won't allow it. You're being so harsh. You're triggering my trauma. The world is just too cruel for someone as sensitive as me. Their identity is fused with their brokenness. If you try to save this person, you enter a game you are rigged to lose from the start. Why? Because to truly save them would require them to relinquish their core identity. If they get better, they lose their all-purpose excuse. If they become strong, they forfeit the attention, the accommodations, and the lowered expectations that their professed weakness guarantees. Therefore, they will fight your solutions. You offer a ladder out of the hole. They claim their arms are too weak. You throw down a rope. They say it burns their delicate hands. You reach down to pull them up. They go psychologically limp, becoming dead weight, forcing you to carry the full burden of their ascent. And you will tire long before they decide to stand. Machiavelli would note that one who builds their sovereignty on the pity of others builds on sand. But you, the would-be savior, are building your house on an active swamp. Every rescue you perform does not elevate them. It validates their helplessness. You teach them that brokenness is a lucrative currency. You are, in effect, paying them to remain sick. And here is the darkest, most painful twist. The moment you stop, the moment your energy flags and you say, I cannot carry you anymore. You must walk. The lamb transforms into a wolf. The professional victim will turn on you with a ferocity that will leave you reeling. They will paint you as the monster. They will narrate a story to everyone who will listen about how you abandoned them in their darkest hour. They will expertly rewrite your shared history, transforming your exhaustion into cruelty, your boundaries into betrayal. They require a villain to complete their eternal victim narrative. And by auditioning for the role of hero, you have, in their eyes, also auditioned for the role of the villain for when you inevitably fail to sustain the impossible. Do not play this role. Compassion for a professional victim is not love. It is a form of self-inflicted martyrdom. It is a refusal to respect their own, hidden, capacity for agency. You must let them fall. You must let them face the consequences of inaction without your hand to clutch. Because only when the audience finally walks away does the performer have a reason to stop the act. This is heavy, necessary medicine. The path to power is paved with these difficult discernments. If you're committed to walking this path, don't walk it alone. Subscribe to this channel. We are building a community of people who choose clarity over comfort. And if you know someone who is constantly playing the rescuer to their own detriment, share this with them right now. That click could change the trajectory of their life. The fifth type is the enemy of progress, the saboteur of wisdom, and a relentless drain on your sanity, the arrogant fool. This is not merely an ignorant person. Ignorance is a void that can be filled with knowledge and experience. The arrogant fool is defined by their refusal to know. They are in a deep, romantic relationship with their own unexamined opinions, even as those opinions lead them, time and again, off a cliff. Machiavelli had a stark rule for leadership. A prince who is not wise himself cannot be wisely counseled. The core meaning extends beyond princes. You cannot teach, guide, or save a person who believes they already possess all the answers, who believes, at some level, that they are infallible. You see this person repeating the same catastrophic patterns. They choose partners who are transparently exploitative. They invest in blatant schemes. They pick fights with giants. You, with your clearer vision and your genuine concern, see the cliff's edge rushing toward them. You run ahead. You wave your arms. You shout, stop. Look at the evidence. The cliff is right there. And how do they respond? With gratitude? No. With a sneer. With a debate. With a convoluted explanation of why their map is correct and yours is flawed. They will perform Olympic-level mental gymnastics to prove that gravity is just a theory, that the cliff is an illusion, or that they have secret wings they haven't used yet. Why do you waste your breath? You must internalize this ruthless lesson. You cannot use logic to reason a person out of a position they did not use logic to get into. The arrogant fool is not seeking truth. They are seeking validation. When you offer them truth, they perceive it not as help, but as an assault on their ego, their intelligence, their very self-concept. By trying to save them from their own ignorance, you become their enemy. You become the living, breathing embodiment of the reality they are desperately trying to deny. So they will attack you. They will label you condescending. They will mock your conventional thinking. They will drag you into endless, circular arguments designed not to find truth, but to exhaust you into submission. And the bitterest pill? When they finally, inevitably, step off that cliff and face the consequences, they will not learn. They will blame the wind, their footwear, the distracting color of the sky. They will blame you for jinxing them or for not warning them loudly enough. You must stop trying to be the teacher for those who have no desire to be students. There is arrogance in your own assumption that you can force wisdom into a mind that has boarded itself shut. Machiavelli would suggest a colder, more strategic approach: strategic silence. Let reality become their sole tutor. Reality does not argue. It does not negotiate. It simply delivers consequences, often with blunt force. When the arrogant fool holds forth, do not correct them. Do not engage the debate. Simply nod, offer a non-committal, interesting perspective, or I'll have to think about that. And then step back. Withdraw your intellectual and emotional energy. Watch the inevitable crash from a safe, detached distance. Protect your own intellect. Do not dull the sharp edge of your mind trying to carve wisdom into stone. Reserve your insights, your energy, your valuable counsel for those who possess the humility to approach you and say, "I don't know. Can you help me understand?" The arrogant fool must be left to the merciless, instructive curriculum of the real world. It is the only force potent enough to potentially, just possibly, crack their shell of certainty. And now, we come to the final type. This one breaks the hearts of the most loyal, the most hopeful among us. This is the one that teaches the cruelest lesson about nature: the scorpion. The history repeater. There is a fable you likely know. A scorpion asks a frog to carry him across a river. The frog is afraid. "You'll sting me, and I'll die." The scorpion replies, "That would be irrational. We'd both drown." Convinced by the logic, the frog agrees. Midway across, the scorpion plunges its stinger into the frog's back. As they both sink, the frog gasps, "Why?" The scorpion replies, "I couldn't help it. It's my nature." Type 6 is the human embodiment of this tale. This is the person you have forgiven, not once or twice, but a dozen, 100 times. They betray your trust. You forgive. They take advantage of your generosity. You forgive. They lie to you directly. You forgive. Why? Because they cry. Because they offer perfect, heartfelt apologies. Because they swear they have seen the light. "I've changed," they say. "I'm in therapy. I've found faith. This time is different. I swear on everything." And you want to believe. You want to believe in redemption arcs. You want to be the exception, the saint whose unwavering love finally reforms the sinner. But Machiavelli would warn you with chilling simplicity: men never change their nature. He is speaking of core character. Behavior is a pattern. Character is the deep groove that pattern wears. The single most reliable predictor of future behavior is relevant past behavior. When you save the scorpion from the natural consequences of their sting, when you take them back after betrayal, when you bail them out after disaster, you are not aiding their evolution. You are corrupting their data set. You are teaching them a lethal lesson. I can sting, and I will still survive. I can hurt this person, and they will still be there. You are not saving them. You are training them to continue hurting you. Every time you take them back, you surrender a piece of your self-respect. And critically, they lose respect for you as well. How could they respect someone who so clearly disrespects themselves? They begin to interpret your forgiveness not as mercy, but as weakness, as permission. Their internal calculus becomes, if they took me back after I did X, the boundary is past X. They will likely take me back after I do Y. You are searching for the good in them, and it may well be there. But you are willfully ignoring the shadow that often overwhelms that good. Machiavelli advised leaders to be wary of those who have betrayed others before, for the pattern is ingrained. Loyalty is a habit built through consistent action. Betrayal is also a habit, reinforced by consistent forgiveness without consequence. If you are entangled with a history repeater, a scorpion, the most difficult and most necessary action is amputation. Not a slow taper, not a negotiated break, not a promise to just be friends. A clean, decisive, total severance. You must remove their access to you. This is an act of fierce self-love and, paradoxically, the only thing that gives them a microscopic chance of ever truly looking at their own nature. You cannot save someone from themselves when their self is defined by the act of the sting. This has been a journey into the shadows, not to dwell there, but to bring back the light of awareness. To see clearly is the first, non-negotiable step toward reclaiming your life. Your energy is not infinite. Your compassion is a treasure, not a tax. Your life is a ship meant for a meaningful voyage, not a salvage barge for every sinking soul you encounter. The goal is not to become heartless, but to become strategic with your heart, to direct its immense power toward those who will nurture it in return, toward projects that fulfill you, toward a future you can build unencumbered. This is your one life. Stop setting yourself on fire to keep others warm, especially those who just complain about the smoke. If this resonated with you, if you felt seen and challenged, then your next step is crucial. First, subscribe to this channel. This is where we continue this work, where we move from identifying the problems to building the solutions, the unshakable mindset, the habits of power. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single step forward. Second, share this video. Share it with the person who is too kind for their own good. Share it in a private message if you must. Your share could be the key that unlocks their cage. Third, go to the comments. Tell me which archetype resonated most. Write architect, pit, saboteur, victim, fool, or scorpion. Let's build a community of awareness in the comments. Your story might help someone else find the courage to act. And finally, like this video. It tells the algorithm that content with substance, content that challenges and empowers, deserves to be seen. The journey from people pleaser to person of power begins with a single, deliberate choice. Make that choice today. I'll see you in the next video.